Welcome back, everybody. My name is Sucker, and in the first of today's two videos, we're going to be talking about some DeMar DeRozan trade rumors. This is a player that we've heard in trade rumors for, maybe the last 7 or 8 months. There was some Magic stuff during the season last year where he could potentially be moved to them. And really, it all just kind of depends on what San Antonio wants to do moving forward. Because if they do want to start trading away players and looking at somewhat of a rebuild or at least a roster shakeup, then not only are DeMar DeRozan, but also LaMarcus Aldridge are going to be available. And there have been some interesting rumors surrounding DeRozan specifically that we're going to get into in today's video. But really quickly, before we get started, if you enjoy content like this, then consider subscribing. We're on the push towards 100,000 subscribers, and it would be really awesome if we could get there within the next couple of months. So if you enjoy NBA content consistently, it's going to be 2 times a day moving forward here on this channel, then this is a great place to be. You can also leave a like rating on the video as well. It helps me out a ton because that way I know that you're enjoying the content, and it helps the video get out to more people on YouTube as well. A couple of things really quickly to plug. One is the Discord server that has been set up where you guys can hang out with people in the community outside of the videos and off stream, because I also stream at twitch.tv/spolo_TD. I stream over there 5 times a week. If you're watching this video after it was released, it's pretty likely that I'm live right now. So you should come hang out. And yeah, with all that said, let's go and get started. Okay, so we kind of all know what the deal is with DeMar DeRozan at this point, right? He's been a productive player for a long time, an all-star caliber player. Ultimately, the decision was made by Toronto a few years ago to move on from him so that they could acquire Kawhi Leonard. And since he's been in San Antonio, he's been a nice player. He can score. He's improved as a playmaker. Still can't shoot. Still isn't a very good defender, so he's somewhat limited. But the things that he does well, scoring, shooting in the mid-range, even playmaking a little bit, he's really, really good at. Definitely a valuable and a productive player, and a guy that holds a player option for this offseason that he could just opt out and leave, or he could opt in and become a free agent in the summer of 2021. And these rumors specifically that we're talking about in this video relate to 2 of the more interesting and probably more active teams in the trade market this offseason. At least they're expected to be 2 of the most active teams in the trade market, and that is the Milwaukee Bucks and the Brooklyn Nets. So we'll go ahead and talk about the Bucks first, and then we'll talk about what this could potentially mean for the Nets. So the Bucks have maybe more on the line next year than any other team. Maybe you could argue the Clippers have more on the line, or some other team. But if the Bucks don't perform well next season, especially into the postseason, if they don't at least make the finals, their ability to retain Giannis Antetokounmpo in free agency is going to be limited. So they know what they have on the line next year, and they're going to be aggressive in trying to make moves to improve different aspects of this roster. And you could make an argument that having someone like DeMar DeRozan on the Bucks roster would help them in a couple of areas that they needed. One being, when Giannis isn't on the floor, they need someone else that can create and score on the perimeter. Yes, they have guys like Gregg Popovich. Yes, they have guys like Khris Middleton, but they're not really dynamic, perimeter playmaking, scoring type guards. And DeMar DeRozan can provide that, even if you don't love the fact that he doesn't shoot the ball well from 3-point range, from the mid-range, attacking the rim, and again, playmaking, which is an underrated skill for him. He can do a lot of those things really, really well, and better than anybody else on the Bucks right now outside of Giannis. Khris Middleton, we've seen some of his struggles at times in the postseason, having to be that perimeter creator, and Eric Bledsoe in the postseason on offense is basically non-existent. So it's not surprising that they're linked to someone like DeRozan. Now, the obvious issues here are the fact that when Giannis is on the floor and DeRozan is also out there, the trademark spacing that the Bucks have, kind of patented over the last couple of seasons of having everybody be able to shoot on the floor outside of Giannis, that's obviously going to be an issue with DeMar DeRozan on the floor. And maybe you could make the case that because it's the Bucks, because it's Mike Budenholzer, they would figure out a way to get DeMar DeRozan to shoot better from 3-point range and to shoot more threes. But personally, I find that unlikely. So that fit, or that aspect of the fit, I don't love. Now, the other argument you could make here is, well, why doesn't he just come off the bench? Why don't they just keep their regular lineup? They give up whatever they give up to acquire DeRozan, then he comes off the bench and plays a lot of those non-Giannis minutes, because especially in the regular season, Giannis only plays like 31, 32 minutes a game, and then in the postseason, you just put your best guys on the floor. The problem with that is I don't think that DeMar DeRozan would be especially fond of coming off the bench at this point in his career. Still an all-star caliber player at times, depending on the situation that he's in, and even though for the team that would probably make the most sense, I don't think that it's a great idea for Milwaukee to try and implement that, just because I don't feel confident that DeRozan would really go for that. So for the Bucks, I certainly question the fit. I understand the mindset of just trying to improve the roster. And if you can get DeMar DeRozan for really not a whole lot, I don't really care if they give up Eric Bledsoe, to be completely honest. If you can still keep Giannis and Khris Middleton and plenty of shooters around those 2 guys, maybe it's worth taking a look at. But again, that fit in general, I'm not sure that I love. Now, for the Nets, The situation is similar, but not completely the same as what the case is with Milwaukee, because people are continually trying to add a quote-unquote third star to this roster in Brooklyn outside of Kyrie Irving and outside of Kevin Durant. I've continued to advocate for something different than that, where you just go and get another complimentary guy in the wing, kind of a combo 3-4 that can defend and can shoot. I think that's the biggest hole in this roster. I don't think that scoring and star power and playmaking, I don't think those are going to be issues for this team when fully healthy, which is an entirely different issue that we'll get to in a second. But people are going to continue to come up with rumors and trade ideas and things like that to send players like DeMar DeRozan to Brooklyn. In terms of the specific fit, I do actually like that better than him going to Milwaukee for a few reasons. One, I feel like, the possibility of this team needing, true DeMar DeRozan, like starting caliber, like averaging 20 and 6.5 DeMar DeRozan, I feel like the likelihood of this team needing that is much higher than the Bucks needing that, simply because you have no idea if Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are going to be able to stay healthy for more than 50 games next year. And being able to have someone like DeMar DeRozan to still be a really good offensive player for this team is going to be would be a nice benefit. And for Milwaukee, it's more about what can they do when Giannis isn't on the floor, but you would expect him to stay healthy. Whereas for the Nets, having a third guy there, one of those two players, does get injured for a significant amount of time, is not a bad backup plan. However, the same spacing issues with DeRozan on the floor, with Kyrie and with KD still exist. And defensively, there are probably going to be issues with that group as well. When you consider Kyrie isn't a great defender, when you consider DeMar DeRozan isn't a great defender, Kevin Durant can be one, but I wouldn't count on him being a very good defender, at least anything above average. In Brooklyn, that starts to cause some issues. The other part of this is I would imagine that someone like Caris LeVert would be potentially involved here if you're Brooklyn. I personally would rather have Caris LeVert than someone like DeMar DeRozan. He's someone that is younger, signed longer term over the next couple of years, and spaces the floor better, quite simply, than DeMar DeRozan. So I don't really see the point of making that type of swap. Now, if you want to make the argument that maybe you do LeVert and somebody else, and you get LaMarcus Aldridge and DeMar DeRozan, then maybe that's a conversation that can be had, and you've got one of the better four-man offensive groups in the league, and they'll give up 130 points per game, and maybe that's just the plan, you know what I mean? But I do, off the top of my head, I do like the Nets fit better than what's happening there in Milwaukee. Now, having said all those things, I still find it unlikely that the Spurs are going to make a move. This feels to me like, people within the NBA community trying to make this happen and trying to force the Spurs into something that I don't think they're going to do. Like, I still don't see them going into any kind of rebuild here. Which is what trading away Aldridge or DeRozan or both of them would signify to me. It would signify to me that they are willing to move those guys to put themselves in a different situation, to put themselves in a better position for their future. And as long as Gregg Popovich is the head coach of the San Antonio Spurs, I don't anticipate that being the plan of attack for the Spurs moving forward. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but it feels like we're trying to force something a little bit with these DeRozan trade rumors. Now, in terms of some other teams that could potentially be interested, because I'm sure this is not going to be the last of the DeRozan trade rumors that we hear, Orlando is a team that was talked about during the season. I wouldn't be surprised to see them potentially make a move for DeRozan. They're a team that has needed perimeter playmaking for a long, long time, and he would certainly provide that. And, even a team maybe like the Dallas Mavericks that we have heard rumors about lately, potentially, trying to bring in a third quote unquote star to that roster and be willing to trade anybody other than Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis in order to make it happen. DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge are going to be two of the more interesting trade candidates to watch this offseason if we get indications that the Spurs are actually willing to move on towards some type of rebuild. They both can be free agents in the summer of 2021. So even if someone like the Mavericks do, bring in one or both of those guys, they're not necessarily messing with their 2021 cap space. And then there's other teams around the league as well that could convince themselves that they need that third star, but then they also have, kind of an exit plan if it doesn't work out because you've only got, DeRozan or Aldridge or both on a one-year deal. So those are going to be two guys to watch. As far as these rumors specifically, I'm not really buying them right now, but from a fit standpoint, I do like the fit better in Brooklyn rather than in Milwaukee. But honestly, in either one of them, I think there are better options out there than trading for someone like DeMar DeRozan. But that is going to be the end of today's video, and I thank you all very much for watching. Once again, my name is Tucker. If you missed any of my previous videos, then be sure to check out the boxes on the screen. Thanks again, and I'll see you all next time.